Press 2 fingers to the inside of your wrist. The beat you feel isn't blood arriving. The blood that left your heart on that beat is still up in your upper arm, drifting along at about half a meter per second, and it won't reach your wrist for several more beats. What you're feeling is a pressure wave running through the wall of the artery itself, moving about 20 times faster than the blood does. Doctors can measure that wave's speed. In a healthy young adult, it travels around 5 meters per second. In someone with stiff arteries, closer to 12. And that speed is one of the strongest predictors of dying from heart disease that medicine has, which is strange because it isn't measuring your heart at all. It's measuring your arteries. When the main pumping chamber of your heart squeezes, it pushes about 1/3 of a cup of blood into the aorta, the big artery leaving your heart. That pipe is already full, so about half of what arrives has nowhere to go. It gets absorbed into the wall of the aorta itself, which balloons outward to take it, then springs back during the pause between beats and pushes that stored blood onward. Your heart squeezes in bursts of about 0.2 of a second. Your brain and kidneys receive a smooth, continuous stream. The aorta turns one into the other, which is why the bottom number of your blood pressure exists at all. It's measured while your heart is completely relaxed, valve shut, doing nothing. That pressure is made entirely by your arteries squeezing back down on blood they borrowed a fraction of a second earlier. Roughly half the work of moving blood around your body is done by your vessels, not your heart. And nearly every food ever shown to help your cardiovascular system works on that half. The stretch comes from a protein called elastin, the same thing that lets your skin snap back when you pinch it. Your body finishes laying it down in your arteries in your early 20s, and then essentially stops. It has a half-life of about 70 years, so the elastin you have now is the elastin you'll die with, and it has to survive roughly 3 billion stretches. It frays, and as it does, the load shifts onto collagen, the tougher protein in your tendons and scars, hundreds of times less stretchy. That much is unavoidable. What happens to the collagen next is not. Sugar in your blood bumps into collagen and sticks to it. No enzyme, no biological process, just chemistry. And you've already had this measured. Your A1C, the 3-month blood sugar test, is only a count of how much sugar has stuck to the protein inside your red blood cells. The reason that number can improve is that red blood cells get replaced every 120 days, so the damage gets thrown out with them. Your arterial collagen isn't replaced for decades. Nothing gets thrown out. Over months, those stuck sugars rearrange into permanent bridges, locking one collagen fiber to the next. The main one has a name, glucose pain. It builds up steadily with age, and no known enzyme in the human body removes it. 2 things drive the reaction: how much sugar is present and how long it's in contact. You don't need diabetes for this. You need blood sugar that stays up for a big part of the day. Which means the number that matters isn't the sugar printed on the label. It's how high your blood sugar climbs after you eat and how long it stays there. 3 things change that, and none of them take food off your plate. The first is the kind of fiber that turns thick and gel-like in water: oats, barley, beans, lentils, chia, psyllium. That gel physically slows how fast sugar can reach the wall of your intestine to be absorbed. The second is the order you eat in. In studies where people with type 2 diabetes ate the exact same meal but saved the starch for last, their blood sugar peak dropped by about 1/3. Protein and fat slow your stomach from emptying, so the same rice or bread reaches your intestine spread over a longer stretch of time instead of all at once. Nothing left the plate, only the order changed. The third is walking for 10 minutes after you eat. Contracting muscle pulls sugar out of your blood through a separate door, one that doesn't need insulin to open it. It's the fastest way to cut the time sugar spends sitting against your arteries. The same reaction also runs in your frying pan.
much faster because heat speeds it up and water shuts it down. When you brown a steak, roast nuts, or toast bread, that's sugar bonding to protein at a temperature water can't reach. The compounds that make seared food taste seared and the bridges stiffening your arteries come out of the same chemistry. Only about 10% of what you eat gets absorbed, and researchers still argue how much your diet matters against what your own blood sugar is doing. But the cooking chemistry isn't in doubt, and the difference is big enough to know.
Boil a chicken breast and it carries roughly 1,000 units of these compounds. Grill that same breast and it's around 5,000. Fry it and you're past 9,000. Bacon runs to about 90,000. Anything cooked in liquid can't get hotter than boiling water, and below that temperature the reaction barely runs at all. Marinating in lemon juice or vinegar for an hour before cooking cuts the formation by about half, and it's the acid doing that, not the tenderizing. Vegetables, fruit, beans, and grains stay low even cooked because they're mostly water and starch rather than protein and fat meeting dry heat. None of which means never roast anything. It explains why the food cultures that keep producing stretchy arteries at 80 cook so much of their meat wet. The second thing you can change is what surrounds the lining of your blood vessels. That lining is a single layer of cells, one cell thick, coating the inside of every vessel you have. It isn't passive plumbing. It's a sensor. Put those cells in a salty environment and they physically stiffen, measurably, within minutes. Sodium comes in through the surface and the internal scaffolding of the cell reorganizes. A stiffened cell then makes less nitric oxide, the gas your vessels release to tell themselves to relax and widen. The machinery that makes it only switches on when the cell physically bends as blood drags past. A rigid cell doesn't bend, so it never sends the signal. That's a completely different problem from salt making you hold water, and it gets almost no airtime. Potassium does close to the opposite. It relaxes that same cell, and in trials it lowers artery stiffness by more than its blood pressure effect alone would predict, which makes the useful instruction the one nobody gives you. The average American eats about 3,400 milligrams of sodium against roughly 2,500 of potassium, and the World Health Organization target for potassium alone is 3,510. Everyone is told to subtract. Almost nobody is told to add. And potassium is a plant number. A baked potato with the skin carries about 925 milligrams. A banana carries 420. Nowhere near the top of a list it somehow dominates. Beans, lentils, leafy greens, avocado, tomato paste, winter squash, yogurt, and salmon all beat it. The third thing is that gas itself, nitric oxide. There are two ways your body makes it, and only one is famous. The first is the one we just described, an enzyme in the vessel wall switched on by blood flowing past. The catch is it needs the lining to be healthy. So the people who most need their vessels to open are exactly the people whose lining has stopped delivering. The second route skips the vessel completely. Nitrate, a natural compound concentrated in leafy greens, gets absorbed into your blood. Then your salivary glands do something odd. They pull about a quarter of it back out of your bloodstream and concentrate it into your spit. Bacteria on the back of your tongue convert it into nitrite. You swallow, and your stomach acid turns some of that straight into nitric oxide. Part of your circulation is being run by germs in your mouth, and it's been proven directly. In controlled studies, prescription-strength antibacterial mouthwash used twice a day pushed people's top blood pressure number up by 2 to 3 points, purely by killing the bacteria doing the conversion. Gram for gram, the greens carry more nitrate than the beet. Arugula, spinach, beet greens, chard, lettuce, and celery all run higher than beetroot, which got famous mostly because it's what got studied. Beet juice trials lower the top number by 4 to 5 points, and several show arteries measurably less stiff. The effect is real, modest, and gone within days of stopping. Two things wasted. Nitrate dissolves in water, so boiling your greens leaves much of it in the water you pour down the sink. Steaming, sautéing, or eating them raw doesn't. And vitamin C alongside helps the conversion downstream. One reason greens with lemon keeps showing up in the diets that age well. Cocoa helps the first route instead. The bitter plant compounds in it push the vessel's own enzyme to make more. But there's a catch on the shelf. Most cocoa powder is Dutch processed, treated with alkali to darken the color and soften the taste, which destroys 60 to 90% of those compounds. The label will say, processed with alkali. The natural, non-alkalized kind still has them. All of this lands somewhere narrower than a supermarket aisle. Every lever here moves one of three things: how much sugar sits against your collagen and for how long, which sets how fast your artery wall locks up; how much sodium versus potassium bathes that lining, which sets whether those cells stay soft enough to feel blood moving at all; and how much nitrate and how many plant compounds arrive, which sets whether the vessel can actually answer once it does feel it. 3 inputs, not 30 superfoods, and a processed food supply that happens to push all 3 the wrong way at the same time. Fast sugar, high sodium, stripped potassium, no nitrate, and meat cooked dry and brown. We call the heart the organ that circulates your blood. What it really does is deliver energy in bursts 0.2 of a second long. Your arteries take half of it, hold it, and release it through the long, quiet in-between, which means close to half the work of your circulation happens while your heart is doing nothing at all. And in most people, the pump isn't what ages first. It's the wall that was holding the other half.